I'm going to start out like I do with all the interviews I've done. Are you worried as we approach the 1-year mark?
I'm not worried. I'm definitely proud of the way that the community has come together. The community has stepped up in a really big way, I think, since the unrest happened last year. I do think that there's some significant issues that still need to be addressed.
Such as?
On a systemic level. I mean, we look at poverty, when we look at the consistent unemployment, those are some deep-rooted issues that are going to take a comprehensive approach. But as it relates to healing and public safety and community building, particularly in Sherman Park, we've definitely seen evidence of that happening.
And you're working on a blueprint?
Right, so the Blueprint for Peace, basically for the past 9 months, we've engaged the community in identifying what it believes are the most significant factors driving violence in the city and what they believe to be the greatest opportunities for actually addressing or reducing violence in the city. And so that'll be rolling out shortly in the next month.
And is there still an opportunity for the public to weigh in?
Absolutely. So we're actually going to be presenting at Community Brainstorming, which is at St. Matthew's Church on 9th and Locust. That'll be on Saturday the 26th of this month from 9 a.m. until 12. And so, folks will be able to hear about all of the work that the Office of Violence Prevention has been doing over the past year, but most importantly, about the blueprint and its contents, and to be able to provide final feedback.
How are you addressing the challenge with so many groups doing so many different projects in Sherman Park? We have seen a lot. Some are faith-based, some are nonprofits, and then we have controversial activists like Vaughn Mays, who many aren't sure how to react to because in his demonstrations he has been known to burn American flags, but he has been there, and he says he's the one who's talking with the young men in Sherman Park. They're also doing their own kind of patrols. I mean, how do you make sure it's helping and not hindering each group when you have so many working? Right.
One of the things that I've seen over the past year, and the Office of Violence Prevention has played a critical role, I think, in supporting the diversity of groups from, Parkline Assembly, Church of God, who, consistently goes out with other faith-based groups on Saturdays throughout the summer in Sherman Park, to even working with Vaughn Mays and working with a lot of the grassroots and large nonprofits who worked in that area. One of the things about Vaughn is he was there before the Sherman Park unrest. And there was, some clashes between the young people and law enforcement, particularly the sheriff's office, in the park way prior to the unrest. And so we basically called the community to come out and volunteer and to be, because these are our children. And as a community, that's the way that we have to start talking about these issues and looking at these issues. I think there's a significant disconnect when we talk about humanity and dignity in the way that we respond to our children, particularly the most vulnerable who find themselves in trouble. And so we can't just leave that to law enforcement and courts. As a community, we have to wrap around our hands and arms around our young people and hold them accountable, but also from a place of love to say, these are the opportunities and supports we're willing to connect you to and provide you with.
Wow. Your job seems like one that requires a lot of determination, but also a lot of humility, I would think.
Yes, it does. And I think with the unfortunate homicide of Justin Evans Jr., we called the community together to come out that day to support, the day after, to support the family, and a lot of faith-based, community-based. So you had the police department, you had Vaughn Mays, you had, the freedom fighters and a bunch of other groups who traditionally sometimes may not all be, working together, but we see this issue as unifying. Regardless of where we may differ, I think what we have in common is the fact that it is intolerable for us to be losing children to violence in our city. And if we can agree on that, we can do anything from that place.
Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.